Now, some smart people at McKinsey have been helping us work out how best to create that culture of innovation. I would like to welcome to the stage the Innovation and Life Sciences partner at McKinsey in the London office to talk to us about what really drives innovation in the economy. Please welcome Tamara Rajah.
Thank you, David. Well, it's a real privilege to get to be able to set the scene around innovation for you today and to share with you some of our most recent research. So let's get started. 59%. This is how much the EU has to increase its productivity growth over the next 10 years just to match the GDP growth of the past 2 decades. The EU isn't alone in this challenge. Japan has to deliver 81% of productivity growth, the US 34%. This is a very big task. How do we do it? Innovation. New ideas leading to new technologies, new businesses, new processes. This brings up a picture of massive investment in R&D, but that's not the whole picture. What drives innovation in the economy is much, much broader. And this is what we'll explore. Let me illustrate this with one example. A smartphone chip. 19 out of all of 20 phones in the world, if you open them up, they have a chip designed by Arm, a company based in Cambridge, UK. Now, Arm obviously makes substantial direct investments into R&D, but it also makes many other knowledge investments into software tools to promote new physical layouts, into information technology and communications to build new algorithms and new designs. And all that happens because it attracts, recruits, retains highly, highly skilled people. Ultimately, we believe to understand innovation investment, you have to look at all the relevant components, not just R&D. And in that vein, we analysed all the investments that countries make in innovation, and we computed what we call innovation capital. Now, this is a measure of the value of all the tangible and intangible assets in the economy that drive new products, new services, and improvements in business processes. Innovation capital is composed of 3 things. And these things make organizations more effective, people more skilled, and products more appealing. But we often forget to measure these. So these 3 components are as follows. Firstly, knowledge capital. These are the investments that build intellectual property or brand equity. It's about 60%. And only about 1/3 of this is traditional scientific R&D. Second, physical capital. This is the ICT backbone that allows us to integrate our human resources across the globe, facilitate collaboration, and build the foundations for our information economies. It's about 16%, which leaves about 1/4 for human capital, our investments in people, in their skills, and in the ways our businesses work. So when we examine innovation capital by country, what does this tell us? Well, 3 things to take away. Firstly, countries with higher levels of innovation capital have higher levels of productivity growth. You'll see in our research this strong correlation where we looked across 16 countries. And in fact, 53% of productivity growth was driven by these types of investments. And this figure is increasing by 5% year on year. Secondly, innovation capital comes in many different mixes. Countries with heavy infrastructure investment have more physical capital. Service-oriented economies have more human capital. You have to start measuring this total capital, but to truly understand the picture, you have to measure all the parts. And third, investments in human capital generate higher returns than in knowledge capital. Human capital allows countries and companies to create advantages that are far harder to replicate. So what do countries need to do to build their innovation capital? Well, we've shared with you our latest version of our discussion paper, which lays out quite some detail on the kinds of actions that countries can consider. But since we have a full agenda, let me just share with you 3 broad actions. First, aim high. Encourage and ensure that innovation capital is continually being built up over time, continually being accumulated. It's fundamental to driving productivity growth. Second, think broad. Innovation capital can come in many forms, so consider what will drive investment across the full spectrum and not just some elements. And third, While there is always a balance to be struck, in the pinch, we say prioritise the people. A skilled, flexible workforce is critical to being able to efficiently convert knowledge investments into output and to get the most out of your physical investments. Now, those of you here from the business world may be thinking, great, now my country can do that for me. But I want you to think, what can I do for my country? And thankfully, it turns out that our three broad actions still apply. Think about it like this. Am I investing sufficiently in building my innovation capital? Am I over-investing in R&D? Am I under-investing in other parts of innovation capital? Am I collaborating and building my own ecosystem? Do I know what local universities are thinking? Do I know what local makers are building? And am I deploying and developing my people as effectively as possible? So for the rest of today, let's be asking ourselves, how can we build our organization's innovation capital? How can we build our country's innovation capital? And how can all of us together build the world's innovation capital? Thank you.